You'll be tested later. I was formerly the Marketing and Transition Coordinator for 2 years with Coldwell Banker and a full-time agent before that, part-time agent ever since. So that's where I'm coming from with this today. We actually had taken this tour a little bit through the North Shore region of listing talking points, and it kind of came out of, believe it or not, me watching My Big Fat Greek Wedding again. Has anybody seen that movie? Yeah, this is going somewhere, don't worry. And the one woman turns to the other one and says, tell me what to say, but don't tell me what to say. So I was feeling like that was what was happening in my office a lot, that agents were coming in and saying, you know, I really, just give me a talking point. Just give me something to work with here, please. So that's how this presentation came about. For the expo today, we've made some adjustments, and I'm kind of taking you through a tour of both a listing presentation with some of those talking points, so hopefully you get a little bit more for your own today, and maybe learn how to talk about what we have to offer a little bit better. So why list with me? Talking points to stay current. Now you'll notice I am presenting on the iPad today. Yes, I'm a fan of iPads. I'm like Chris, I touched one and I liked it. So I use it all the time. And but I will tell you that sometimes my presentation style might change depending on who I'm presenting to, so we'll talk about that a little bit. This is how I like to start it out. Now, this is all, some of these slides are from the keynote presentation that Coldwell Banker developed. So some of the slides are mine, some of them are from there. I'll pull out really quickly a little stack of cards at the end, and if you want me to email this presentation to you in a PDF or PowerPoint or anything like that, just let me know. Either you can email me or you can leave me your card and I'll email you. So you can have it for your very own. Okay, so print, we just talked about that. Print versus online. I get this question a lot. People saying, you know, I've always brought in the paper. 74%, I'm a big numbers person also, 74% of agents still use paper only. About 14% use a computer or an iPad or some other exciting device. And believe it or not, the additional percentage still just wings it. Yes, I see some of you adjusting in your seats. I know who you are. See me after class. No more just winging it. Do one or the other, or even better, do both. Because you want to leave the client something to hold on to, something to look at later on in the day. But you also might want to go with them, just like I am with you today, in a more interactive presentation. And there's one big fat reason why, and we'll get to it right about in the middle, and so hopefully you will spot why. Now, some of this comes from my rule number 1 of marketing. If you saw my presentation last year, I think it's so important I'm going to say it again. The rule number 1 of marketing is market to your demographics. So I always have in mind who I'm going to be talking to that day, who I'm going to be presenting to, and I adjust and cater my presentation to that person. Doing some of my own demographic research to know how they most like to communicate. Because in the business world, as we found out this morning, we can no longer communicate just the way we want to, because believe it or not, if I could, I'd just send all of you a text. But I know not everybody wants to communicate that way, so sometimes I have to adjust that to work with my demographic of who wants to work with me. And also, of course, use your best lines. So as you come up with talking points that you find work with certain demographics, those are the ones you should use. Okay, know your current numbers. This is a big one for me. I've seen so many presentations walk through the door lately from 2010 numbers, 2009 numbers, 1998 numbers, wherever you might be coming from. So be sure, as you're talking about the power of our name, your name, both that the slides that you're using have actually been something you've pulled either that day or within the recent month. Now, I know not everybody sitting in this room necessarily, unfortunately, has us number 1 in the marketplace for your specific area. If that's the case, you could always pull a Market Quest report from your resource center that includes all of the counties to show the Coldwell Banker presence in all of the counties with that really nice breakdown right there of the competition as well. How this can also be additionally beneficial, I always like to cover some objections you might get. I know when you're going head-to-head with certain people from companies, they might say, well, such and such is the number 1 company here. You can tour them through a map like this and say, well, that might be true, but we live in a much larger metropolis, and they're not number one in the larger metropolis of where we're getting a lot of your buyers from. So that's a potential response to that objection. And then we have, if you do have CB number one in your marketplace or number one in something, you can always pull one of those more refined into the exact marketplace. These are slides, again, just so you can see them from the keynote presentation that you would be able to use and customize. When you hire one of us or all of us, that's a great time to talk about our global. Now, here's my other one. Be fabulous, but be brief. Okay? Be your fabulous self, come in there with your listings and everything you've done. I love it. But I have, believe it or not, I hope it's nobody in this room. I have my glasses on, so I can't tell. But believe it or not, I've had people come in with the listing presentation that is newspaper clippings from all the way back to 1980 of when they were featured in the news. And that is the listing presentation. Now, if that's you, I'm sorry, I don't mean to embarrass you, but take that as that this is a great time to make some adjustments, because that is no longer the way the industry is trending. We love you, we think you're fabulous, we want to hear a little bit about you, but then the bulk of it, the bulk of what I want to hear as the consumer is what you're going to do for me. What's in it for me? I wish it weren't that dirty, but it is. So, as brief as I'm going to be about my sales. Now notice, this is animated, it's going on without me, it literally lasts less than 20 seconds. That's how long I'm going to spend talking about my previous sales. But you get this nice, pretty picture collage, and they get the impression, obviously I've done sales in reputable buildings, in many different styles of home, you know, whatever works for you. And I cover that point that quickly on a slide. Moving on to the next. Then if I want to talk about my background and use my fun little animations that make me so happy at the end of the day, I can briefly go through my background with them. If I don't know them as well, just explain you know, some of the publications I have had deals featured in as an example of my marketing, communities that I've worked in and sold homes, and expound from there wherever I feel like I'm making a connection with the client. This is my last one. That's 3 slides total. This is my last one about me. And this is where I say what sets me apart is my service to you. This is what I provide to you. I'm available to you 24/7. Now, if you are not available 24/7, don't say that. But whatever your value might be, make sure that you state that very clearly in a quick mission statement. A lot of times I've noticed people will ask you, you know, well, what are you all about? What's your business like? And sometimes you don't have that, what they call in Del Carnegie, I think it is, the elevator speech, ready to go. And you want to have that, just like 2 or 3 sentences that just encapsulate your business completely, that you would use on everything as the marketing for your brand. That's what I have there as what sets me apart. Okay, how are you communicating your value? This is really interesting. From our region, Patrick O'Rourke, the Executive Vice President, had put together just a kind of a small Excel spreadsheet where he threw down some of our marketing. And I saw it and I went, whoa, why have I never been using an Excel spreadsheet with a client before? What am I thinking? This is a great idea. Excel spreadsheets or other programs like it, like Keynote, like PowerNote, these are things that professionals are using in their day-to-day life. And so it is another way that they are used to communicating, particularly when it comes to value. They're used to using Excel. Yes, I will give this all to you. You're giving me the face, like, how can I get this? So what I've done here, I know some of you can't read it in the back, it's an Excel spreadsheet detailing the exact costs of a lot of our tools. For example, entering into the MLS, $225, right there. 16 photos with virtual tour, $68. A little further down, floor plans, $225. 60 listing sheets, the initial printing, $60. All the way down to my personal favorite, the Fab 4 branding package. Clients sometimes ask, well, what does that cost? What is the value of listing with a realtor when I could list my home myself? This is a great value, because if they try to list it, 0 to 3 listings on any of these websites, here are the costs. Realtor.com, 0 to 3 listings, $199. Trulia, $479. Zillow, $468. The total is $1,146. That is a big nut that somebody would have to try to come up with by themselves. up front before their listing is sold. So when I'm explaining my investment in selling their listing, I make sure that I put all of them in there, including my ads in the local papers, whatever I can think of, and put into the total cost. And it helps to justify my 6% or 7% if you're especially lucky in this round. Anybody get 7% ever? Whoa! I worship at your feet right now. That's what I'm doing. So that's really important. And also, I know we have the 495. Those are great ways to counteract those objections, is to have an Excel spreadsheet with that. And you will, again, have to continue to update that. You don't want to have an outdated listing. I update my listing presentation every 2 to 3 months, sometimes even more often than that when it comes to those market slides. Now the job, since I just talked about communicating my value in marketing, and people forget what the exact steps are of marketing the listing, of selling the listing. When they see this all lined out, this is what happens first. Then we set the price. Then we determine the time frame. I sign the disclosures. We implement a personalized marketing plan. We negotiate offers. We accept an offer. We sign the contracts. We begin the closing process. And this is only, as you all know, a small piece of it. But it helps to visualize for them exactly what it is that we're doing for that 6, or some of you apparently 7%. Okay. I'm animation happy, can you tell? Now, photography and staging. A lot of people I know talk about this. Some of you do it, some of you don't do it. Minimally, you probably hire someone or have someone available that would. I just like to show them one example. I would say this is something we did with a home. It really helped to sell the home, and it was well worth doing. And that helps them to visualize why they would go to all the trouble to do the long punch list of things that you're going to give them. Now this was actually Coldwell Banker's kind of pseudo punch list, but you could certainly add to or subtract to this to be your own. I know Jenny Ames, I don't know if he's in the room, but so we should talk about her. Jenny Ames. Now we're going to get emails later. Jenny Ames has a really great list that she goes through with every client, what needs to be done. I was looking at a home yesterday. I was thinking, gosh, I need to add to my list the straightening the, what am I thinking of? Come on, help me with this. The light things. The plugs. Yes, the plugs. Does anybody want to talk about, they're always crooked in the house. The outlets. I'm the last presenter. Cut me a little slack here. Straightening the outlets. It was driving me crazy that every room in this vacant house, all the outlets were tweaked. So you might have your own list of how you're going to help them enhance their home for impact, and then how they're going to help you, because of course you need them to be on board with you for that. If you're not talking about the internet, first of all, why? And second of all, please start. What I'm noticing more and more throughout our region and other regions is that a lot of times people don't want to talk about something they're not 100% comfortable talking about. They're worried they're going to get a question they can't answer, they're going to have that deer in headlights moment. I have those all the time. It's okay. And it's important to at least get some talking points down that you can use. And if, God forbid, they ask you a question you're not 100% sure you know the answer to, it's always okay to say, let me talk with my marketing specialist about that. Because, by the way, I have a marketing specialist on staff at Coldwell Banker. Marketing your property online. Let me show you an example. Now, we're to the part that I just told you is my favorite thing about using the iPad, or you could use, you could do the same on a computer. I like to have preloaded in there the listing on all of the different websites, because this is such a more tangible way of understanding the internet exposure and what I'm going to do for them in making their listing go live and viral right away. Now first I'll show them, this is an example listing. Is Janet Borden in the room? Oh good, we can talk about her too. Here's Janet Borden's listing. I show... No!